don't you get the feeling that now slowly Ghana is almost as if Ghana is not for Ghanaians anymore?
That's true.
It's like some people are not talking about it. Are we afraid to talk about it? Because now most of the factors of production are not being controlled by Ghanaians. Listen, these guys think that we can do it as Africans. They think we're going to have to rely on them forever for every little thing. But the most surprising one was coming from Ghanaians themselves when we started, where people would come in, they would see the facility and say, which Indian or Lebanese owns this facility? And I tell them, no, this is Ghanaian. From the space that I sit, I kind of get insight into the manufacturing sector of Ghana in terms of those producing consumer goods. And I tell you that 7 out of 10 of my clients are not Ghanaians. They're wonderful people. They've built wonderful businesses. But what are the Ghanaians also doing? The majority of our staff are factory hands. You call them, oh, Stella Moe Gracio, Mimami Yare, this, that. And I was like, do you guys not want to work? And I was trying to figure out why. You get so many different reasons thrown at you. Some would tell you that, hey, I make more money from betting than working today.
In Ghana, there aren't a lot of generational businesses. You know, we have these foreigners who are building great businesses.
Yeah.
Like currently on fifth generation and sixth generation, stuff like that. And we can't say much for the Ghanaian community. You see, why do you think that is?
I mean, I think back then the problem was with
friends in Accra and well beyond. It's us again at the Peso Podcast. And today on your behalf, I will be having a conversation with Mr. Emmanuel Ntim. He's leading the charge at FON Packaging, a manufacturing giant in Ghana, I must say. And it promises to be a great conversation. But before we go on, there's a part, as tradition is beginning to demand, there's a piece of literature I want to share with you. So I want to read The Man in the Arena. It's an excerpt from Theodore Roosevelt's speech, Citizenship in a Republic. He delivered it in Paris on April 23rd, 1910 in Sorbonne, at the Sorbonne. And it goes like this. It is not the critic who counts, the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there's no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who notes great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who are the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement? And who are the worst if he fails, if at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. So yeah, keep building. Mr. Emmanuel, thanks for coming.
That's a wonderful one.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Same here.
Today we've done like a very unique setup because of you. Today I don't want to mince words and mince my questions. So great to have you. How are you doing?
Very, very well. I've been nervous, but I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be an interesting conversation. So, FON Packaging, right? You guys are like manufacturing, you're specialists in corrugated carton. What do you do? I mean, that's an overview, but I guess it's not. But what you guys, I know you're a subsidiary of an industry conglomerate. So what does FON carton or packaging do? What do you guys do?
So we're basically a corrugated carton solution provider. Basically, we solve the problems of packaging for your average FMCG company or any company that needs carton boxes. So FON Packaging was actually born in 2014 out of the need to solve a problem our parent group had. This year, actually, we have the oldest tissue brand, FON Tissue. Let me just plug that in Ghana.
Okay.
And aside that, we produce photocopy paper, school stationery, being exercise books, etc. for schools. And with all this, let me not forget our printing press as well. With all this, we couldn't find a stable or efficient carton manufacturer in Ghana to serve our needs. So through this, we started importing from South Africa for about 5-6 years till we took the decision and said, listen, we're importing huge volumes each and every single year. Why can't we make the investment decision to set up our own plant and expand the capacity just enough to be able to cater to the market for others who have the same problems like we do? So after 5 years of construction and installation setup, FON Packaging started its first production in 2014. So this year we're actually heading into our 11th year. So by God's grace, we thank God for that. So that is essentially what we do. And fast forward till today, we've been able to, or we are currently serving major brands like Olam, Nestle, Wilma, you name it. And we're actually adding some efficiency to their supply chains.
Wow. So your story is a very unique one, right? You are from a family of entrepreneurs, right? Essentially, it's a family business that you guys are leading the charge on, building subsidiaries out of the parent company and stuff. I'm more or less reminded of the economic revolution that happened in South Korea with the Chaebol families, Samsung, the LG, the Hyundais, Do you think that's the goal with your family? Did you see that playing out with your family?
I do see that. That's the goal, and that's the mantra that we live by. That's the charge my brothers and I have been given by our parents. I'm the oldest of 4 boys, so I have 3 younger siblings, and we're all in the business together, handling different divisions, but all contributing towards one goal, lifting the group up. So I'd say yes. If not, then why are we doing this? Why are we wasting our time? They might as well have just sold the business and invested the money. So we are charged now to do double or triple what our parents have done by migrating into newer industries, taking the brand further. They have done their bit by building the brand name, brand image locally. Now it's time for us to take it beyond the shores of Ghana and make it more efficient, set up more structure so that it can have a life of its own beyond us even.
That's nice. Talking about brothers, you have 3 other brothers, right? How was growing up like? You raised in Ghana?
We went to school in Ghana, started school at Red Church.
They went to Ghana GIS at some point?
Yeah, GIS for high school or secondary school. Then we all went to the US for university and came right back to join the business. So for us growing up, we literally grew up around business. Conversations at the dinner table were not your traditional, how was school, this, that, nah. It's about the problems at work, the solutions, what we can do. Sometimes we're not your usual fly out here, stay home, whatever. No, sometimes we were on the factory floor each and every single day for every holiday. Growing up, I think we hated it, or let me speak for myself. I hated it until I grew up, and then getting ready to join the business, I understood the value of it. That all the while, my father was just really trying to get us to get a taste of the business, get an understanding of work ethic, because work ethic is the most important thing, and get for us to understand the processes and also get to know the people. So coming back into the business, I realized that my barrier to entry almost was quite low or even non-existent, because I knew what to do already, and the existing staff I came to meet there already knew me. So there was no power shift or power struggle on saying that, oh, he's just the owner's spoiled son or whatever. No, we were able to slot in immediately and get stuff done. So growing up was pretty interesting.
So you moved to the US to study, right? Which school did you go to?
I went to Bryant University, Rhode Island. Very small business and liberal arts college, but
what did you study
I had
there?
a wonderful experience. I had studied accounting and supply chain management.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it intentional? Was it tied to the idea that you might be running this thing?
I mean, there was no idea. It was already written in stone. As the oldest, the mantle of the firstborn, you really don't have much say in it. So I remember the day I graduated from university was a Friday. The next day I was on a flight to Ghana, arrived Sunday, Monday, started work immediately because needed to hit the ground running. So the accounting was, my dad's suggestion, even though I didn't like it much, but the supply chain was my interest. So I added it and then added a minor in French because I felt that, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to be able to communicate with those on our borders to be able to expand the business further. So yeah, that was it. That's what I did.
Okay. So it takes some level of idolization, right? You might or idealization. You might have something as your ideal to want to be it, right? You have to put something on a certain pedestal to want to be like it. There've been countless tales of people who grew up in families where parents were entrepreneurs building legacy businesses, and then they decide not to do that because they don't have that as their ideal, right? Do you think that your upbringing sort of informed was I want you to tell us what point in your upbringing, right? Growing up, did you realize, well, this is an ideal to me. My father and my mother, they're doing this thing. I want to do this too. I'm sure it's like it's a self because you first decided for yourself before being buying into your father's plans, right?
Yeah. So for me, 100%, I always knew I would do business.
Yeah.
There have been so many entrepreneurs in my family, right from my grandmother to my parents, right down to us. My grandmother, till the day that she even died, that day she was working still, and she never gave up. My father was able to get his big break through the support of his mother as well, to be able to build up the business that impacts so many lives today. Today we have close to 250 staff. And where I see the difference we're making, because business to me is not just a regular affair. To me, I firmly believe, or I've come to believe recently, that business is a spiritual activity. We've been put on this earth to be able to do business, to expand, to grow, to be able to further the kingdom agenda, to be able to even impact more lives through the work that we do. Call it what you want, faith in God, just general belief. I believe that business is a spiritual activity. And just following the biblical principle, planting a seed that if you work diligently at raising that seed, at growing that seed, at nurturing that seed, it grows into something bigger that sometimes you are not even expecting. So for me, growing up, I grew up in a unique environment where both my parents are running the business or are co-owners in the business. So I got a sense of two different management styles that worked wonderfully to create one. So I am sort of becoming a hybrid of both management styles, where my dad is the hot leadership, military style, dictatorship type guy, and my mother is the soft spoken, other side of thinking.
Very stereotypical.
Exactly. So they kind of merge well together and have actually helped me in terms of learning how to deal with people, how to even foster relationships, the networks that you have, So for me, seeing how my parents have been able to impact all those around them by even creating jobs for people, by even being able to impact our hometown where we come from, Kwewu, by building a senior high school in honor.
Region again.
Yeah, the Eastern region. By building a senior high school in honor of my late grandmother, and also recently building a clinic, which was instrumental in helping the community fight off COVID during that time. There wasn't a single case in our community.
Wow.
And where it actually hit home was not too long ago when I visited some clients of mine, and a gentleman who was managing the warehouse came up to me and says, "I know you." I was like, "Where do you know me from?" He's like, "Oh, I was one of the students from FON SHS. That's the school that my friends, so FON Senior High School." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yes, I graduated, and through the scholarship that your parents put in place, I was able to go on to university, and then here I am. I got a job. I'm working here in Accra." And that was mind-blowing, because I never even looked at it that was the extent it could go, where it could impact someone's life that way. So in terms of doing business, for me, I love what I do. I'm not saying it doesn't stress me out, it doesn't give me headache, but it's sort of like I'm being given the baton now alongside my brothers for us to do something that helps take the family name even higher. Because you cannot do it for your own first name. You need to do it for the name. And there's a principle that people in the Lebanese community use that I love very much, that when the patriarch is passing on, he does not will his properties or his entities to his son. He wills it to the grandchildren. And he expects you to be able to do the same. So that fosters continuity in the business. That fosters growth. That sort of tells you that, listen, all that I'm working for is not yours. You need to work for your own to pass down to your grandchildren, because I'm not leaving anything for you.
Yeah.
So that sort of tells you that you need to be able to step up to the plate once you get on, and then do the very best that you can, because life keeps receipts of what you do.
Yeah.
Whatever you put in is what you get out.
You know, there's this idea that there aren't a lot of this when it comes to generational businesses, right? The idea is that by the third generation is gone. You know, take Vanderbilt, or even let's be more local in Ghana. There aren't a lot of generational businesses. You know, we have these foreigners who are building great businesses,
Yeah.
like currently on fifth generation and sixth generation,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And we can't see much for the Ghanaian community. You see, why do you think that is? And that's one. And then, what do you gather from that? Because now you are like second generation, and then you are leading the charge. Yeah. How does that feel? You know, there's a certain burden that comes with it. And how are you navigating that? So first of why
Yeah.
that is with Ghana, right? And then how are you navigating this whole burden, more or less?
I mean, I think back then the problem was with education and exposure. You don't know what you don't know. If you don't know how to plan for succession planning, you definitely will not put proper succession planning measures in place. How do you handle your estate? How do you set up the structure of the business to make sure that it's not a case that when boss is not there, nothing goes on. You have to be there. You know, so how do you also find the right people? There's a common theme in some books that I'm reading now on leadership and co that says you need to always find the right people and pay them right to be able to build up your vision, to take it to the next level. That's something I'm actively trying to do now to help give our company or our vision some legs to be able to stand on. But I think mainly as well, there wasn't much exposure back then as it is today now, where it's easy for anyone to even travel, or you even have the internet there to get your information, to even show you how families in the US and Europe are running their business empires. How are they setting up their family offices? How are they setting up their estates before they pass away? How are they even handling succession planning such that each person within the business knows what he or she is responsible for? Bernard Arnault is a fantastic example of that now, where he's been able to position all his children into different facets or different sectors of his business. One in LVMH, another handling the jewelry section, whatever, and they're all now contributing to the vision overall. So I think mainly back then the patriarchs really didn't have much of a clue. And also you had the problem with polygamy as well, where you have families with multiple wives, multiple children, which equals multiple interests as well, where everyone is going to vie to look out for their own interests. But now no one has any excuse to fail. There are currently a number of people now within the second generation space now who are actively doing a very good job. People I know personally who are trying to also move up to the third generation. So I think a renaissance is upon us, and the revolution is going to be televised very, very soon. It's
Like
going to
that.
come true.
Like
And what was the second
The
question?
second one is, so how are you how you trying to navigate this bedding, more or less? There's expectations, so to speak, that you're going to do things differently. You're not going to probably do better than the first generation. You know, how are you handling that?
I think I'm handling that with a lot of wisdom and a lot of care, because I'm here being given the mantle to people who know this business better than they even know me. This business is their first baby. So like it or not, there are things they know in this business that it's going to take some time for me to get to know. There's also a very heavy emotional attachment to it, where trying to change certain things is trying to draw blood from a stone, which is almost impossible. So you need to be able to have wisdom and discernment to know what to do and how to do it. So for me, it's a gradual process each day. Like, okay, these are the problems we face. I believe that if we look at it from this approach, we can change this. We can have much better efficiency, maximum effect. You're not going to get a yes immediately. It may take you 6 to 9 months to even get a yes or a go ahead. But the most important point is to be able to stay on your vision and keep pushing until you get it done. Because it's like working out. you need to start with maybe 20 kg to make sure that your body is able to handle that before you can move to 40. It's the same thing that parents and who are handing down the business to their children are also going to be able to test and see that, okay, let me throw this at him or her and see how they react. If they're able to handle it well enough, okay, now we can move to stage 2. Now we can move to stage 3. So like I said, I'm praying for a lot of wisdom and discernment to be able to navigate this, and I think we'll be fine. So far, so good.
Okay. Did you have any, growing up, any personal first-hand experiences with business? Aside working in your dad's, what's it called, factory, did you personally try to, for the fun of it, maybe build business, start a business on your own growing up?
For me, I actually didn't, because I felt that this was what we were doing was huge enough for all consuming, and they didn't really give me much time. But as I started out in the business, then I realized that, okay, there's some interest that I have that the company may or may not be interested in going into. So let me just try my hands at it. One, I'm very interested in sustainability and what we can do with it, being that we're in paper. So I thought to myself, what venture can I look into that would not distract me too much from my daily affairs? So I said, okay, let me just look in the same industry. So being as I'm supplying a lot of cartons to customers, what are they doing with the waste cartons? Do they have proper means of disposing them? Do they have an efficient way of being sustainable? What can I do to give them that plus? And then that is where my little, or let me not call it little, my potentially huge brainchild called Afrofusion Ventures was born. And the whole plan is to be able to set it up in an efficient manner where it can run on its own without distracting my business.
So what does that do? What does that
So currently we're in 2 industries now. One is sustainability, where we are collecting waste cartons from the markets, from the formal sector, and we are recycling them or converting them into second-grade products, such as paper again. So we started off by doing collections, and we're selling to the paper manufacturers. Then the plan within the next 2 to 3 years is to invest in our recycling plant to convert into other products like egg crates, paper for production of tissue or carton boxes, etc. The second venture is something that I'm very passionate about called this is palm wine, basically. So funny story, ever since I was young, when we go back to Easter and Kwewu, there's always someone bringing palm wine to the house, fresh for us to try. For years, I would try to get my hands on it, like, hey, you're too young, my friend, step back. So when I finally got of age and I started trying, I was like, I love this. But if it's called palm wine, why isn't it in a wine bottle? Why isn't it packaged nicely for us to get it out to the West? So for the past 2 years, I, along with a wonderful team, shout out to Beryl and Dr. J, have been working on product development to be able to get palm wine shelf stable without fermenting or without going bad. And so for now, we've achieved that. We've been able to get a shelf stable for 6 to 9 months. So watch out. We should be launching sometime this year.
You see some of these tables empty.
Yeah. So very soon I'll be sending you guys some. It's not water, you'll be drinking palm wine between
of course.
days.
We're playing the palm wine. It's typical. It's actually the African way, palm wine, under some coconut tree, playing a guitar or something, singing and having conversations. So that's nice. Okay, cool. I know you're married. 2 kids.
Yep.
How's that going?
So far, so good. I like to say I'm doing a good job. My wife may or may not agree, but hey, I hope so. So going to be married 6 years this December. Thank God for that. My wife is a wonderful person. She puts up with me, and she's given me 2 wonderful girls, who a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old, and these girls are wonderful. They're amazing. And it's really put things in perspective, because coming from a family where we're all boys, it's kind of like...
End up being a girl dad.
Exactly. And it's funny because my brother also just had a daughter as well. So it's like, what's going on
here?
What's going on? We need to slow down, or else the women are going to take over. But no, it's wonderful. And to even see how, sure, granted, my mom would be in love with them anyway, but to see how they've been able to put my dad on mute, it's so interesting. Like, he can't get enough of them. It's a wonderful thing. but it's also put things in perspective in terms of, okay, we're trying to build a generational business. Did we ever think of the fact that the next generation are going to be women running the business or men? So now, ever since my daughter was born, I've been studying our model, or even from my division, to say, okay, how can she have a voice if she comes in here?
That's true.
Because she may not be able to pick up the cartons from the floor and pack them on the pallets like some of the factory hands do, but she can definitely be good in engineering. She can definitely be good in procurement. She can definitely be good in management. So how do I shape these girls or influence them such that if they do decide they're interested in joining the business, they can be even more stronger and powerful than any man who's even in the business. So that is my goal, to build strong, industrious women who can take this business further than my brothers and I can even think of. So by God's grace, we pray for wisdom and life to be able to see it through.
And how are you synthesizing being a father, a husband, and like a business leader? How's it going? Because you're very young.
Yeah, I'm just 34. I'm going to be 35 in June.
Very young.
So it's all of, people are throwing around this fancy phrase, work-life balance. I don't think you ever find a balance. I don't, for me at least, that's my personal opinion, because I look at the life of someone in industry where production starts from 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. And sometimes you have to be there to push certain things through. Your kids also need you. Your wife also needs you. And even your own personal self needs you. Because you need that time to be able to reflect, to be able to read, to think, to be able to de-stress. So it's a journey that I'm on, and I'm hoping that I'm able to find some sort of balance. But for me, what I try to do is get home early enough to be able to put the girls to bed, at the very least. Spend time with my wife after that. It's been difficult finding the time now to even go out on a date together, but hopefully we're able to fix that. But I guess it's a normal cycle when you have kids that are this young. So I think we just need to look forward towards the future to make sure we raise strong, independent-minded women who can look out for each other, because so far the bond that they have already is amazing. When my daughter gets home from school and the youngest one sees us, she just goes crazy, like just jumping up and happy to see her sister. You know, her sister will pretend she's not excited, throw a little attitude at her, but in the end you see them hugging and kissing each other. So it's interesting being a father. I've been a father for 2 years now, and I'd say it's changed my perspective on life. It's kind of teaching me to slow down a little bit, and you kind of become aware of the fact that there are more important things than work. But at the end of the day, you're also aware of the fact that you're carrying the load of having to push the business to the next level. So how do you bridge the gap? Maybe one of your viewers will have the answer to this, or someone later on coming on will come on. But this is why I said, in my personal opinion, I'm not really sure that you can ever find a work-life balance, but you just have to be intentional. Intentional about certain things to make time. Be there for the little things. I'll give you an example. There was, I forgot what it was, an event at my daughter's school. And my wife and I totally forgot. We didn't read the emails. And suddenly she calls me an hour to the event that, hey, this is happening. We need to be there. And I'm like, why are we not finding out? So we both had to rush. I got there before her. So I get there and I'm trying to find where my daughter is, because parents had to go do a walk-in or a dance entrance with their children. And my daughter was the last one. I got there and almost broke my heart to see her just standing there all, subdued and all quiet, almost teary-eyed. As soon as she saw me, her face lit up. And it's made me aware that it's these little things that count in the lives of children. It's these little things that they're going to remember. It's not the trips abroad. It's not this, but how you make them feel. You know, how you were there for them in these little moments, where how you comfort them when they're afraid, how you even motivate them to be a better part of themselves. So it's something that I've actually promised myself to be very intentional, to always be there for these kind of things.
Well, so I gather that when you started running the factory, was it when you started running the factory, or at some point you had to go to Taiwan for some sort of training? What was it about?
So I think it happened sort of, but just by divine orchestration. Because to start the business, first of all, we couldn't find local people who could run the machines
Wow.
because the level of technology we had invested in was second to none in the country. No one had brought in that level of technology. So we had to bring in expats to help us get
Oh.
started. So we brought in a plant manager who was from India, Tamil. So we get started the first month, first 2 months, and then all of a sudden, this dude's mood or perception of me changes. He's like, hey, I don't think I want to report to you. I want to take full control of the business, this and that. And my dad says to him, I built the business for my son, not for you. So if that's the case, then you need to leave. Well, funny enough, the guy just ran off with his family in the middle of the night, took a flight out of Ghana. And my dad tells me that, listen, these guys think that we can do it as Africans. They think we're going to have to rely on them forever for every little thing. You need to sit up, back up, and get the ball rolling on this industry or this factory because we've spent too much. So we got in touch with the machine suppliers who had a soft spot for us because for a year, my dad, before we bought the machines or made the first down payment, it took my dad a year to even get a visa to get to Taiwan because the company thought he was a scammer. Because they
Wow.
said never in the history of their company, they're also a second generation business, has a black man ever bought any of their machines. Because it's quite a hefty investment. It was quite a massive, probably our biggest investment we've ever
I
done.
saw there's this story about, I think, a $60 million
Yeah.
factory. That was
Yeah.
it.
So for them, they're like, where are you coming as an African black man to come and say you want to buy our machines? So it's after the persistence, he kept pushing, where they said, okay, I think you're serious now, so you come over. And he met the owner directly and he says, okay, relax, I like you. I'm going to take over everything and give you all you need to hit the ground running. So this guy literally who knows us from nowhere, his name is Ken Xiao, literally took over all our designs, took over all our plans, the construction, everything of the entire facility, and gave us a setup that helped us get to where we are today. We're
Wow.
extremely grateful to him. So through that, I ended up having to go spend 2 months in Taiwan just to get a crash course in the
Okay.
industry. Visited numerous factories that were running their machines, took technical courses in there, and I think it was very worthwhile because it helped me understand the weight of the work that I was taking over. So it was a good
Okay.
experience. Very different culture because I then realized that there are literally no black people in Taiwan. So I almost became like a tourist attraction. People would see me and would stop me to take pictures, would rub my skin to see if the black would come
Yeah.
off. It was interesting. Very annoying, but quite interesting as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Talking about, you're in a very interesting ecosystem landscape, manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
which has been the bedrock of any developed economy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one thing that's really lagging in our part of the world, in our economies, is leading the charge on manufacturing, right? And I'm sure being one in a million or like one of the few people doing it, it will come with its own challenges, from the government to even, I'm sure clients who might not exactly believe that you'll be able to provide for them at a certain standard, you know. I want two things. My question is in two ways. The first is, just an overview of some of the challenges, you've had to face and do because you're one of the very few local people manufacturing at that standard, right? And then the second is that what do you think we are headed as an economy, as a people, moving to the future of manufacturing in our economy, for people like us. Yeah. So,
So let me take the challenges first.
yeah.
Challenges from when we started were mainly trying to get the manufacturing companies to believe that a local person was able to do it. Because with all that we do, we're pre-financing their production. We're giving them 60, 90, 120 days credit. First of all, do you have the financial might to be able to support my supply chain? Because you're talking about Nestle, who needs no less than a week, at least 500,000 to 700,000 cartons a week for their production. You're talking about Wilma that needs slightly lower but still quite higher. You're talking about producing to different parameters, producing to different specifications, bringing in thousands of variables of raw materials because everyone has different specifications. So can you do it as a local person? Because no one locally had shown that they could do it. So you understand the perception that people had. But the most surprising one was coming from Ghanaians themselves when we started, where people would come in, they would see the facility and say, which Indian or Lebanese owns this facility? And I tell them, no, this is Ghanaian. It's only recently that people even realized that FON tissue was being produced in Ghana. They refused to believe that for 30 years, FON tissue is a brand that has been produced in Ghana on the Spintex Road. Same location, we've never switched for 30 years. So it all starts with the perception of the people in Ghana and of the lawmakers. Do we actually believe ourselves that industry is what is going to take us to the next level? You take America, you take Germany. Germany should be the worst performing country in the world because they lost the war. Industrial revolution came about and then transformed the entire facet of industry of the country, where now majority of Europe looks to Germany to even take decisions. How Germany is going to move, how Germany is going to dictate, how German cars are even sitting on in Africa, driving on the streets, where even our people here aspire to drive a Benz or a BMW. It's not for nothing. So first of all, we need to be able to actually see industry as an avenue that is going to enrich us. Yeah. Because one, let me ask you this. What industry other than manufacturing can hire a large majority of people? What industry can contribute to a large majority, I'm not saying the highest, but a large majority of your taxable revenue you need to advance growth? What other industry apart from manufacturing can give you innovation, can bring skills, can bring technical qualifications down to the people? And if you look at our African landscape or our Ghanaian landscape now, the average salary of one individual extends to at least 10 people.
True.
I hire you in my industry. My salary is taking care of you, your wife. We're on 2.
Kids.
Your wife's, let's not add the kids yet. Your parents, another 2. Your wife's parents, we're on 6 now. Average Ghanaian family size now is trickling down, but at least 3, 4, 5 kids. We're already on 9. You may have a family member somewhere that you're supporting. We're crossing 10. That is how far the value of one income goes in this country. So if currently we have 33 million people and we're saying that 3 million or a little over 3 million are financing everything in Ghana with the work that they do, how about we expand that net a little bit to get more people to be able to have jobs that they can help to contribute to the taxable revenue of this country? And I believe industry is the one thing because it's shown itself. What did Lee Kuan Yew do in Singapore? It's industry. Singapore has no resources, nothing. They had independence, I forget, is it just after Ghana or around the same time as Ghana? Same. But look at the disparity between Singapore now and Ghana here. If you read Kwame Nkrumah's Neocolonialism, he says everything in there, that he was literally trying to build what we needed for the future, and industry was high on his plans. So I believe that more and more people should be interested in going into industry. The problems that they face mainly would be the manpower challenges in being able to get the skills. But that is where those of us who are already well established now also need to make that investment in training for the future of the workforce, in contributing in our own little way by making sure those who come into us, even if they are green, they leave filled with major technical capabilities to make themselves better. It's sort of like an investment you are doing in the industry, such that even if they leave, you can't expect everyone to be with you your entire lifetime. Everyone has goals and dreams. They can take those skills to another side of the industry, benefit someone there, then it goes in a circular system. The biggest problem most people complain about now in terms of going into industry is access to funding because it's capital intensive.
Yes.
But don't look at FON Packaging and say FON Packaging just got there overnight. No, we started from little baby steps to be able to get to this point.
Started in Tudu.
Yeah. My parents started in Tudu, a small shop dabbling in different products. My parents have sold everything from cooking oil to electronics to this and that until they came across paper, and that's what stuck. And my parents being so blessed, they had the foresight to say that very soon everyone is going to be able to import paper. How about I take it a step further and start converting or manufacturing these products here myself. And that's what gave us a little 15, 20-year advantage. So now everyone is catching up to that front. Where are we going next? So constantly innovating is what helps. Access to funding is a problem for some, I know, but I've recently discovered that you have so many grants out there that European organizations and US organizations are even looking to throw at people. But because of exposure and knowledge, people don't know about this. So I'd say those are some of the challenges. And for me personally, coming in industry, some of the biggest challenges, unfortunately for me, have been the manpower, the labor. Because our workforce, unfortunately, has not been trained or educated on the quality of work. Our education system has taught people to regurgitate information rather than process it and tell us their own view of it. If they say, okay, a ball is blue, when it could be a different shade of blue. No, the man said it's blue, so hey, we say it's blue. That's it, set in stone. There's no other way of thinking around it. So the workforce has been a problem for us, where the general attitude to work
ethic.
The work ethic.
So how do you do that? Because you mentioned you have about 250 staff strength.
Yeah, group wide. Yeah.
How do you take them through the training? Do you do some sort of training? How does that process look like?
So as I mentioned, one of the things that we're doing now to counteract that is going in for training now.
Okay.
Basically, even giving them an orientation when they come in of what our expectations are. Doing double screening on the type of people that we hire. Giving out to even outsourcing companies to give us the best of the best. Because I tell my parents this every day. You pay for what you get what you pay for. So if you're willing to pay low or pay substandard in the sense of watching your costs, you're going to get that. And slowly, few changes we've made in the structure, we've seen some quality staff come our way. So it's improving. So I think it would improve down the line, like I said, because I was surprised to find out that I'm not the only one going through this. Speaking to some of my customers, for instance, we started the year, about 30-40% of our staff didn't show up because majority of our staff are factory hands. You call them, oh, still have more gracio, my mommy, this, that. And I was like, do you guys not want to work? And I was trying to figure out why. You get so many different reasons thrown at you. Some would tell you that, hey, I make more money from betting than working today. I have a rich family member who said I should just come and watch his house for him. So I'm going there, different things. So I wonder at which point it would change. It will. It will eventually. I mean, conversations like this would shed light on these kind of problems, because someone may be sitting there thinking that, hey, it's just me having this issue. Because I thought it was just me for the longest time, till I started speaking to some customers who are far bigger than I am and said, hey, we're struggling. We've had to cancel a whole night shift just to run a straight day shift because we don't get staff. And I was surprised. So this is something that I feel, now we have a new government in power, the YEA, all these new organizations to deal with youth, to deal with the workforce, need to also be aware of. They need to speak to industry, because you need to get jobs for these guys. You can't let them sit idle. They need to be productive members of the economy. So how are you going to inspire them if you don't even know what the problems are? So I feel like sometimes there's a disconnect between government and then industry, or government and then local businesses. You need to know what our problems are to know what policies you're going to put in place for us. You need to know how to run it, how to get things done. Sure, we're happy you're cutting, which one is it, e-levy and co and all
Taxes.
that. But what else are you going to do to help spur on the economy? Because don't you get the feeling that now slowly Ghana is almost as if Ghana is not for Ghanaians anymore?
That's true.
It's like some people are not talking about it. Are we afraid to talk about it? Because now most of the factors of production are not being controlled by Ghanaians. From the space that I sit, I kind of get insight into the manufacturing sector of Ghana in terms of those producing consumer goods. And I tell you that 7 out of 10 of my clients are not Ghanaians. They're wonderful people. They've built wonderful businesses. But what are the Ghanaians also doing? We can do it. We just need to thrive. And I guess what we spoke about earlier, we need to share these kind of stories as well, for people to be able to understand and know what goes on.
It's coming at me very intuitively. So far, you've mentioned there's certain highlights in the things you've been saying in Chroma, Lee Kuan Yew, the Industrial Revolution, and there's certain passion that's exuding from you when you're talking about governance and politics and people. Do you have would you ever are you considering politics in the future or governance?
I mean, for me, I am a businessman. I'm running a business. At which point can I leave my business to go and run politics? Something has to, oh, well, I need to be there. I know I've given just a flimsy answer right now, but I'd say it's not something that I'm actively thinking about. It's been mentioned once or twice that, hey, you think that, okay, you would have a good mindset to be able to influence politics as well. But, then again, the imposter syndrome comes in that, hey, can I actually really do this and all that? But you never know until you throw yourself out there.
I think you should consider it.
I mean, I believe we're slowly getting to the point in Ghana where the reins of government or the reins of policy or influence in this country need to be handled by the business people.
Yeah.
Because you can't complain that things are rough for business, policies are wrong, etc. if you are not having a direct say in it. Make your voice louder. You are generating revenue for the government. You are a valuable contributor to the government, no matter what size you are, whether you're from SME right up to multinational. You have a voice. You have to be able to state your mandate and say, this is what I need for my business to continue, for me to be able to continue to pay you this tax, for me to be able to scale up to do more within 3 to 5 years, because no one sets up a business to stay at the same level. So I think it's going to happen very soon where business people are going to start saying that, hey, let me try my hands at it. It happened in the US with Donald Trump. Depending on who you speak to, the reviews may be positive or negative. But I think in his first term, even though his rhetoric on race was horrible, he did fantastically for the American economy. Somehow brought manufacturing back, brought that pride back to America on what it means to be American. But his second term now, I don't know what he's doing. But
let's see how that goes.
Let's see how that goes. But,
you mentioned that doing business is a spiritual activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean for you?
For me, I think whatever you've been given to do, you need to do it diligently. And I believe if God has given you the opportunity to run a business or do business, that is where the spiritual side comes into it, because it's not a blessing that everyone has access to. Now, I believe God put that idea in your mind for a reason. He planted that seed in your mind for a reason, for you to nurture it and to grow it into something big, a tree that bears fruit, such that you can feed or provide for others. That's exactly what business is. It's part of the cycle of life. There's a saying that motivates me, or there's a passage in the Bible that motivates me. It says, seest thou a man diligent in his business, he will stand before kings and not mere men. That is what motivates me. That's what drives me. You need to be able to have that mindset in business that you're scaling up to the highest level. And there's a podcast that I'm a big fan of called How I Built This by Guy Raz. And he ends the conversation each time with this one question with founders of Facebook, of this, you name it. He says, what would you attribute to your success? Is it luck or just your hard work? And with luck, he interpreted luck to be different things, the grace of God, the spiritual side, faith, etc. And 9 out of 10 people always said it was either the grace of God, luck, or their faith. 9 out of 10. And I'm talking about the big names in industry, from Richard Branson to whoever. So there's a book that I'd recommend that sheds light to this. That's called Business Secrets from the Bible by Rabbi Daniel Lapin, where he links the Bible and the Torah, which is the Jewish version of the Bible, and he explains in depth about why or what in the Bible God uses to influence us to say that, listen, you need to do business, you need to scale up. And this is where I got this notion from, that business or doing business is a spiritual activity. Because if you've been given this power, to whom much is given, much is expected. you need to be able to scale it up to the point where you can benefit others. And once you're on the right path with that, I don't think God is definitely going to give you all the insights that you need to be able to scale it up. So I firmly do believe that it is a spiritual activity.
Nice. Where do we see FON Packaging in your mind? We want to be in your mind. What would we see when we cast our minds, our eyes to about, say, 5 years into the future? How does that look like now?
I'd say 5 years we should be a major local multinational. I say that in the sense that even though we're local, we should be as big as the multinational companies here, where we have supply chains stretching to all the West African countries around us, effectively producing or supplying to their supply chains, where it should be an efficient, effective model with smart, brilliant Ghanaians at the helm of affairs, with us having a quota where we have equal representation of men and women across board as well.
Like your daughter leading the charge.
Yes, where we're a major contributor to the taxable revenue of this country, and where we can be a prime example of efficient manufacturing in this on this continent.
Yeah. Exciting. There's a question I wanted to ask when you're talking about your daughters, and when you mentioned the idea of equality in the workplace, and then thinking about your daughter and how, because you're already processing them, that they're going to be part of this organization you're building, right? Are you essentially replicating what your dad did with you? Is that how it's looking like?
I'm sorry, I can't really do that, because his model was a bit of the strict model with boys. You can get away with that with boys, but with girls you can't do that. And for us, we almost didn't have much of a say in it. We said, hey, you're joining the business. So my model will be a bit different, where I'll sort of entice them where they're interested without them even knowing. And I did that a few times.
15 years from now, they'll watch this and then they'll catch you.
Yeah, you better. Marlene and Isla. Yeah, you better.
Yeah.
So I'd say I would love for them to want to be able to be a part of this, because this is my passion. My business is my love, except for my wife. Let me chip that in.
I'm going to get you into trouble.
Exactly. So I need to be able to have them share in that passion with me. Because what is daddy always out of the house doing? He's going out to work. Let's share in that. Let's partake in that. And I would not want to force them, but like I said, I would want to encourage them, encourage their ideas, encourage their innocent mindsets, where for them, they can come in and ask inquisitive questions. Why is this that way? Why is that way? And have them figure out the answers on their own, rather than feeding it to them. Now they're still fairly young, but at least my oldest is now forming her sentences, where now her favorite question to ask you is, what are you doing? For everything. Say, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? So hopefully soon I can start going with her to the factory on Saturdays, just to do a walk around, for her to ask all her questions.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Then she can get the answer she needs. So I'm praying on it, not by my own wisdom, but let's see how it goes.
Nice. What are you doing, or what do you do when you're not building a local multinational with FON Packaging, or dating your wife, or showing up at your children's school events because you want to be a great dad? What do you do personally to distress from all of this? So
for me, I recently picked up golf. Maybe this is my second or third year. My third year that I'm playing golf, and I'm in love with the sport. It's the most challenging sport mentally. Before I got into it, I looked at it from the outside, said, well, who are these?
They're swinging about.
Yes, who are these guys trying to show off that they're rich and that by playing this sport? Very ignorant mindset on it. Till I decided to actually start playing with a group of friends. And it's literally all about challenging yourself. The mood you go in, whether it's a good mood or a bad mood, determines the outcome of your game. Because you have a course or different holes on the course that is throwing different obstacles at you. and your goal mainly is to get that ball into the hole in as fewer shots as possible. You have the wind as an obstacle. You have the bunkers as an obstacle. You have the rough fairways as the obstacle. So what I'm doing when I'm not at work is trying to perfect my golf game. It's been slower than I'd like because I'm not that consistent. I don't have much time to go, but it's something that helps me de-stress, because you go out there for 3-4 hours, you're out in the open, just you and the game. It's a chance to just zone out and just focus on yourself. So yeah, golf is what it is for me.
Interesting. That's nice. It's been a very interesting conversation we've had. A very unique conversation. I'm sure people who are watching or listening will attest to it. That this is a very, very, very unique conversation. I've enjoyed it myself. And I want to thank you for showing up. You're a very low-key man. I think generally your whole family. Because there's scanty information of you online.
Really? I'm surprised you even got that.
There's very scanty information of you on the internet. Hardly do any interviews. So thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
And I'm really inspired. I really hope that in 5 years, the plots you have for FON will play out, and we have more people hear this, listen to your story, and want to, keep be diligent with this whole manufacturing thing, because that's what's going to drive our economy and our country.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the love you have for our country. It's obvious, it's exuding. From the way you're speaking and all of that. And I really hope you consider politics, probably consider a certain role that's going to afford you the power to effect policy in a very substantial way. So thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel, for coming.
Thank you, Bill. Nice meeting you guys too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can grab lunch sometime or invite me for dinner.
100%. 100%. We do it.
Right.
Because it seems you've read more books than me, so I need you to summarize all those ones for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you. So, friends in Accra and the world beyond, it's been an exciting conversation, and I really hope you've been inspired. Whatever you do, just build something. Just build. Idua.